Hey followers, here we are again with Andy McPhee, and today we have Ron Weinreich, a previous guest on Relentless and Unstoppable, and we're going to ask him about his great band. Welcome, guys.
G'day.
Andy. Hey, Doug.
Hey, Ron. How you going, mate? Thanks for joining us again. And look, just for those people that may have just tuned into the channel, or just a bit of a recap on our first interview with you, can you just give us a little bit of your circumstances back, during when you're in the military, and then we'll get on to what you're up to nowadays and how you're coping with COVID and your band, etc., and all that, mate.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you guys for having me on again. Okay. And so as a quick recap, like you said, I was born in Israel. But when I was a year old, I came to the United States. I was raised on the East Coast in the U.S. until I was about 15. Then I went back to Israel, finished up high school, went to the military, where I became a tank commander of a Merkava Mark IV main battle tank, which is the world's most powerful and technologically advanced tank. And I had incredible, diverse military service over in Israel in the Israeli Defense Forces. I was a boot camp drill sergeant. I was a commander in advanced tank training. And I also, at some point in 2004, there was a war that broke out between Lebanon and Israel. And I led my men in that war. And I was also injured quite severely. I suffered a severe spinal cord injury when a building collapsed on my tank and a couple of tons of blocks came down on my back while I was, I was at the helm of my tank, but fixing something inside, and the debris came through the open hatch that was above my head. And I had to kind of redefine my life, relearn how to live my life. I was only 20 years old, and suddenly I had to relearn how to put on my pants and how to go to the bathroom and how to take a shower and how to be independent in any way possible, which I went from being a big hotshot, like gung-ho commander in the battlefield, to like a baby again. I mean, I couldn't even go to the bathroom by myself, So it was a sudden stop and recalibrating of everything that I knew about myself. And like just a kind of a rebirth, but I was lucky to be alive.
Wow, man, that's even just hearing that story again, it's like, wow, that's just
I had no idea that you were a drill instructor. Like, were you like Arlie Ermy at all?
I was totally one of those crazy guys that was screaming at people, and like in the movies, and even more so because people were particularly afraid of me because I broke my wrist and I had a big cast on my wrist. And instead of getting medical leave, any normal person would just be like, you broke your arm, you go home for like half a year until it heals. You don't have to go to the military. But I forfeited my medical leave. And I would do the obstacle course and the climbing the ropes and everything with the cast.
Wow.
And so all of my soldiers literally thought that I was crazy, and no one would dare mess with me. They're like, don't mess with that guy. He's a total psycho, and
you're not crazy. You're relentless and unstoppable like me.
That's true. I was relentless. You're right, but I was a little bit meaner than you, Doug, at the time. Trust me.
Right. That's just such a great story, and it just shows up like exactly what you just shared is what you took on to, being now. You're in a wheelchair still, Ron?
Yes.
And you're getting
right now I'm in my car.
Okay.
When I'm outside of my car, I'm in a wheelchair.
I gotta say, so you are working on rehabilitation still, aren't you? I know there's a lot of posts you've had about rehabilitation and being relentless in, being able to, be out of that chair more than in it.
Yeah, well, it's not funny, it's actually tragic. But one of the things is that that when someone suffers a spinal cord injury, or there are other kinds of injuries or diseases that people get, where the medical world still coins them as incurable, okay? And just because when it's something's incurable, they kind of just give up on you. It's like, okay, well, oh, you have a spinal cord injury? Well, you're never going to walk again, and just get used to it, and that's pretty much it. Now,
I do understand what you mean. There are some doctors that, instead of saying that, in my opinion, should say, we're yet to find a cure. At least provide you some hope. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally know what you mean. And I think that doctors are a lot of times afraid of instilling hope in people. And to tell you the truth, I mean, hope is great, but what I really care about and what matters to me is that people, no matter what your circumstance is, right? No matter if you're in a wheelchair or whether you have autism or whether, I don't know what, okay? But that you get to live an extraordinary life.
Yeah.
That whatever you have, you can live a really extraordinary life. And I don't think that there's much value at ever putting a lid on another human being. So when someone says, listen, you're never going to walk again. Okay, I got that. Thank you. I got it. And I'm going to explore ways anyway to see if there's anything else, to healing my body. So I've been in a chair for 15 years. Okay, now, and it's not, I've always been doing new treatments, doing all kinds of things. Maybe in the beginning I was kind of like, I was angry, and I was like, I promise you that I'm going to walk one day, and it may happen or it may not happen, but I'm going to keep at it anyway. Like, why not? Why shouldn't I try? So
absolutely, mate. It's look, obviously people don't understand what people are going through, whether it be what you just explained, or someone's hearing impaired or vision impaired, or we had a girl on the other day, amazing young lady, Chantel. She's an actress, been doing it for a long time, marathon runner, loves her yoga. She's on a regular TV series, General Hospital, I think, isn't it, Doug? She's on?
That is, that's right.
Yeah, she's been on there for a while, but she had an accident where she lost her arm up to here. And that will be enough sometimes for people to go, well, that's it. I can't act now. But she's actually excelled in her life because of what you said. She started going, well, I've lost that. I can still run. I can still do yoga. I can work things around. I can still act. And she has, and it's incredible. So this whole series, Relentless and Unstoppable, I was just sort of looking at where I'm sitting, and you can see the word stoppable. And you said before, it stops you. But when something happens in life, but the circumstances, but then when you go, look, okay, that's it. But I'm not giving up. I'm going to be relentless. And I've known you for 5 or 6 years, and you are a powerhouse, mate. Like, you are just relentless in what you do. And life. So it's an inspiration to everybody, even to Doug and myself here interviewing people. It's a huge inspiration, I'm not sure whether you saw the interview we did with Janine Shepherd. She's an Australian who was training for the Winter Olympics. I think it may be 20, 25, 30 years ago. I think she was only in her early 20s, and she got hit by a truck while she was riding her bicycle training on the road, and ended up like a paraplegic. I think that, if I'm correct, but ended up in a wheelchair. And they said, you'll never walk again, And she said, as they're wheeling her out the hospital, she looked up and saw an aeroplane going over, and she went, well, if I can't walk, I'll fly. And that's what she did. She became a small aircraft pilot. Then she became a commercial pilot. Then she became a stunt pilot. And then she became a stunt pilot instructor and a TED speaker and an author. And it's just like, wow, it's incredible what people, what we can really do when your circumstances change,
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And I must ask you now, Ron, what made you decide to go into the music industry?
Well, a great question. So I've been a pretty musical kid ever since I was a little baby. I taught myself how to play piano, and then when I was 16, I got a guitar and I got a bass guitar, and I would sing my whole life. And after and I mean, before, when I was in the military, I had no time for music. I mean, when I was in high school, my whole life was about music. Then I went to the military and I had zero time for music. It disappeared. I was up to more important things than that. And there was no room for it. Then when I was injured, and I went, I found myself in a hospital for half a year of my life, just laying in a bed most of the time. I rediscovered music. I mean, it had a huge part of my healing process. Naturally, I gravitated to writing music about my experience. And I always had this dream of being like a rock star. And suddenly, now that I was in a wheelchair, it was like, I wonder if I can be a rock star. And I really had like image problems with myself. I thought to myself, I were to go into like a club somewhere and see a rock band like rocking on stage, and there was like a guy in a wheelchair singing, I would think that's kind of like exploitative. I think that's kind of like weird, kinky. I don't know about that. I don't know. And I thought, you know what, I'm gonna maybe I'll see if I can use my story and use my message and my music to really evoke something extraordinary, like a really powerful feeling in someone through music. Because we all know what music does to human beings. Sometimes we can get hit with art in general. Art can just pierce any heart, no matter what. And music is my medium that God gave me the gift of music. And at some point I said, you know what, I'm going to try this out. And I built my own recording studio in my house when I got out of the hospital. I went and I enrolled in being a contestant on Israel's, it's called A Star is Born. It's like American Idol, but in Israel. And I was a leading contestant on that. I became a famous singer there. I got pretty far in the show. And I did all kinds of other great things in Israel. And one of the things that was really profound was getting an email one time, like fan mail from a fan. And she said, I don't remember her name, but she mentioned in the email that she's like 16 years old and she's laying in her bed and there's a bowl of sleeping pills next to her bed, and that she was going to kill herself tonight. But before she did it, she said, I opened up the TV and I happened to land on the channel you were on TV singing. And I was reminded that I don't need to do this. And I can do anything that I want to do. I can be anybody that I want to be, and my circumstances aren't going to stop me. And
Wow.
so she ended up continuing to live her life. And that's what I wanted to accomplish with music. I wanted to put music and the perspective of humanity that I have together, and to give it away and to see what happens. And speaking of being unstoppable and all that, I mean, if there's any industry that's challenging in this world, it's the music industry. It's like it's challenging, man. And going through it and continuing to create and continuing to hustle, it takes a lot, but it's not something that I'm willing to give up on. It's a big part of it.
That's incredible. Like, what a story, to have someone that you basically to save their life, and how the timing of all that was, you just happened to be there. You made that choice. She happened to watch that at that time. Is just, it's incredible,
Yeah, that sort of reminds me of a few years back in my rough spot when I had sleeping pills in my hand and I was contemplating on, ending my miseries. And what saved my life was listening to the classic DreamWorks song in that movie about Joseph. I think it was called You Know Better Than I.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
that's what
it's
makes us
amazing,
feel.
isn't it? What art and music, like you said, art. I think you said music pierces the heart.
Yeah.
Uh, and if you did say that, I wrote it down, and then as I was writing it, I spelt the word heart out, but then circled art in heart, and I went, "Oh my gosh, that's so true, isn't it? It is the arts in the heart, and music pierces that, and it can change people's lives. It can influence people, creates imagination, makes people happy, makes you have a little cry sometimes because you bring back memories. But yeah, it's just so good how we do something for ourselves, but then when you do it with real passion and love, how it can literally save someone else's life. We have Kevin Hines was actually meant to be on after you today, Ron, and I'm not sure if you know Kevin, but he jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge and survived. And I think he's written the book The Ripple Effect, and he did a documentary on it. And he basically travels the world speaking about it. And a close friend of mine, Matt Runnels, who is the CEO of mindfulaustralia.org, he also is involved in mental health and suicide awareness and prevention. And Matt travels with Kevin around America because Kevin saw Matt's posts on social media, and they were at an event at a school, and they were on the stage, and the school kids there were asking questions, and then Matt said something about how you can get dark thoughts, and like he said, look, I've even felt like hurting someone. I felt like killing someone. I was that angry. He said that angry. And when that finished, the couple of people just mentioned, wow, I'm not sure that was appropriate to say in front of the kids. And when they finished, this young kid came up and showed him a diary of the plan he had to kill his dad. And he
Mm.
said, I'm showing this to you because there's something wrong with me. He said, why would I be doing this? And after that, they got the kid help. He had it all planned out meticulously, but it was just the fact that someone took a chance and went, well, I'm going to say this, and did, and look what happened. So that's just a whole part of this sharing and having people on this series is to share your stories, because somewhere out there, and we do get people contacting us going, wow, that was so good to watch that. You've really sparked something in me, and it's really lifted me up, and now I'm going to go get some help or speak to someone or whatever. So it's just awesome share, Ron. That's just so cool, man. That's why you're a leader in what you do in life. And same as Doug, like dealing with high functioning autism. It's such a word that people said, oh yeah, my kid's got autism, and my kid, but they don't realize what people go through with autism. Like some get on and have a reasonably normal life, and others suffer with things like shyness and not dealing with large crowds, and feeling different because they behave a little differently, and people shun them off. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a tough journey.
I just want to say, just to follow up what Andy just said now, I've interviewed a couple people this year, and I've actually spoken to some people outside my home. And some of them I didn't tell I had autism until either the interview happened or until I spoke with them or got to know them. And a lot of people now have started to be surprised that I'm autistic. Like people are starting to tell me, oh, I didn't, you don't sound like you're autistic at all.
Ah,
Yeah, me too. This is a kind of a tough period we're going through, and hopefully everything is worked out, and hopefully they find a vaccine or an antidote for the virus. That's my hope.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And my future as of now, I currently live at my home with my guardian, and in case you didn't know, I have autism, and so I'm kind of living with my mother, and my parents divorced a few years back, and she's kind of become my guardian, and
Okay. I'm so sorry. You don't sound like you're autistic at all.
yeah, I really appreciate that you say that, because I'm literally I have Asperger's disorder, but I'm trying to make sure that I act like a normal person, and it means a lot to me to hear that.
No, that's great. Well, I'm sorry about your family. I know that means that's a tough position for kids when their parents divorce. My first wife divorced, and I know it affected my first child quite a bit. So
Yeah,
like
and
all I can say is that thank you and stay strong.
How
just
do you
how
sound?
outgoing I am.
That's funny. I didn't realize you're autistic. You don't sound like it. I don't know. How does an autistic person sound? Like it's just the views people have,
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it shows how good I'm doing as far as my personality and all that. But I still have setbacks every now and then.
Well, of course. I think though it has a lot to do though. I can assert, or I don't mind throwing out there, Doug, that like a lot of it, and I mean it has to do with me, it has to do with you, Andy, it has to do with anybody that I think what. Listen, you can call it God or whatever you want to call it. Okay, everyone has kind of like a gift. I think every human being has a gift that they have to give. That's kind of it's a natural thing. It's in you. You know that you're good at this. You know that this is something that can make a difference. And sometimes we get so in our head, we're thinking it through. Should I or should I? Should I do this? Should I do that? And it's like, but really, I need to remind myself about this all the time because I'm a very cerebral, thought-oriented person, and I can think things to death. Okay. And sometimes I need to remind myself, God gave me this gift called music. All I just got to do is sing. It's not a big deal. Just sing a damn song, man. Okay, just sing. Open your mouth and sing a song. And then I can do that, and it can really touch someone. It can really make a huge difference for someone. In the same way, like Doug, with you putting this series together, someone can just be like, okay, all right, so you got a few thousand viewers, and we're having these Zoom conversations, but no, this is something that you love. This is something you're good at. This is a gift that that you have an inclination to connect with people, and 100% out of all the people that are watching these, it is touching and moving people into a new direction that they wouldn't have moved before they would have been a part of this. And that's given by this gift that you've been given. And
Yeah.
same thing, and goes without saying, of course, for you, Andy, and everything you're up to.
Yeah, it's incredible, and the channel's growing so much. Like when we first started, it was more just about interviewing Doug, and then I thought, I got a couple of friends we can bring on, and now it's like we've had to change our whole structure and everything to keep this running. And Doug does a lot of work every day, editing and posting, and it's great. His books got more sales. His mum, who I think we mentioned, she is a psychologist in the prisons. And she said to me the other day, Andy, I've seen this incredible transformation in Doug since you've been coaching with him for the last 6 years. She said, I want him now to go and be trained as a coach and mentor for autistic children and adults. And I'm like, whoa, this is awesome. That wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
It's like.
And just to add to what you say, another thing about myself is I try to stay humble. Like, even though I'm doing so much for so many people, I don't let it go to my head. I try to make sure, like I've always said, no matter what awards I get for it or no matter what I achieve, I'm not going to think I'm above other people.
So are you returning that limousine that you get to pick you up every day to go shopping, Doug, or is that your chauffeur? You're not doing that anymore?
No, I think I'll go 90% humble and keep the limousine for shopping.
Keeping it humble.
Yep, I'm just staying humble. Like I've sort of taken a position where if someone tries to insult me or curse me out, I'm sort of like, dude, that's really mature.
He gets used to it every day, mate. He starts throwing them back at me at times now. Okay, you're learning now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah,
Uh,
I'm just trying to make sure that my success doesn't go to my head. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome, mate. And like you just said, Ron, that procrastination in my head, it is just a killer for any ideas, any creative thought, anything. It just that consistent. Will I? Won't I? Well, I'm not sure. No, just do it. It either works or it won't work. And if it doesn't work, then you have another go and change the way you did it until something works. You know, I mean, Doug's now. Um, he's been doing fitness training for a while. We got him on to changing his diet and walking. Now he's running. He can actually run 20, 25 minutes, where before he was just struggling to walk around the block without running out of breath. He's down to, I think, what are you down to now, Doug, in weight? 222?
221.
Oh, wow, awesome. From
Nice.
325 pounds, you know?
Yeah, so I've lost over 100, and it's all I gotta say is, if you want to lose a lot of weight, give up sugar. Like, I have to say, sugar is addicting. I really think it'll be considered a drug eventually.
Oh, well, it's not healthy for you. They've already proved that it can feed cancer, and from what I've heard and read. But the whole thing is exactly what you're talking about, Ron. Is circumstances can be quite devastating or horrific, and some people do struggle getting past that circumstance. But like we just talked about here, is that your story is definitely 100% going to inspire someone in a similar situation, that they can move forward, and make the best of it. We got a young guy we had on the other day, a friend of mine. He's quite he's vision impaired, but his vision is I think he's probably 60%, 70%. Some days it's worse than others, but he's a real estate agent in Melbourne, Australia. He lost his vision through diabetes as a young kid. Like, he thought they were just going to control the diabetes, but it got out of hand, and then he's had organ transplants. He lost his vision, but he's got a bodybuilding competition in another week, and he's creating a lot of work for vision impaired people. He struggles with seeing at times. He does a bit of acting on the side. Like, just awesome, like it really helps all of us look at our situation, go, what am I complaining about? Like, seriously,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like, you've got to be grateful for whatever situation you're in life, and there's always someone out there that can help you and guide you, and just keep you on the right path. But that, yep.
I just have to say, if your music is actually impacting so many people to the point that it's saving lives, as you might have said earlier, if I remember right anyway, we really got to collaborate maybe and do a music video together down the road for my channel. That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
I'd love
Hey,
that.
Dave, what is the name of your band, Ron?
So the band, the band is, I operate under an art, like my artist name is Ronnie W. So anyone who's watching, you can go to ronniew.com. It's RONNYW.com.
Yeah.
You can look me up on Instagram at Ronnie W Music. Again, RONNYW Music. And I mean, you can check, you can follow me there. You can check me out, check out the music there.
Awesome.
The music exists. I mean, I have an amazing album that we just created, and I was going to release right before COVID hit, with an 18-piece string section, full live band. If you like rock, if you like soul, if you like pop, it's somewhere in between all those things. Somewhere between like Stevie Wonder and Sting. It's very musically rich. It's a lot of fun, and one of the things that I really love about making music is, I mean, this is another thing. One of the joy for me of making music is to make it with live musicians, with other musicians that, I'm less of like a poppy, computerized music kind of guy. I've just noticed over the years that it just makes me so much happier to be in a room with a band with other musicians and to, you know, and to have that dance between us of how, you know, how the music ebbs and flows. And so yeah, I wrote this record, which I really love. I think it's my best work yet, and it's not released yet, but you can also, you know, but there's one single that we put out. It's up on Spotify as well. Look it up, Ronnie W. There's a whole lot. And
That's awesome,
if you love
mate.
it, follow me.
Yeah, well,
sure.
Doug will put all that up, you know, on the season, put all your links to everything.
Definitely will. The links, everybody, are right up here.
Oh, he's a champion, isn't he? and his humor's getting better now. I have to keep up with him now, mate, because I've trained him in the sarcasm of my Aussie humor at
Aussie
times.
humor.
And now,
Oh,
yeah, he
did?
jumps on me, man. He
did?
jumps on me now.
You did? Are you sure?
I've known that it's an Australian cultural thing to sarcastically bash people as a form of love.
Yeah, it is.
Power
And
hungry,
that the rest of the world has trouble dealing with that.
Yeah, I know.
You're getting power hungry, Andy.
I can tell you that as an Israeli, we have that kind of thing also, where we attack each other to, you know, as this form of love. So
yeah,
I'm totally cool with it.
a bit like New Yorkers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andy, show him your New York accent.
Oh, come on. I can't do that. I got to go for a coffee. You know, what are you talking about? Hey, I'll forget about it. What are you talking about?
That's good.
I hang around with New Yorkers, mate, all the time. I think I'm part New York now.
Yeah, Ron, we really got to collaborate down the road. I think I want to save and impact people with music down the road.
Happily, let's do it, man.
Awesome. Hey, Ronnie, thanks again, mate, for coming on, and awesome share again today. And we'll definitely plug all those links to get people subscribing and following to your channels, and can't wait until we get back into live venues after all these lockdowns and COVID and all that sort of stuff going on currently at the moment. So appreciate you, mate, for coming on and making time, and appreciate you, Doug, again, for the work you put into all this. It's fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you, Andy. Thanks, Doug. You're the best, brother.
Thanks, Ron. I appreciate it. You're the best drill instructor, Andy.
We got 2 drill instructors. We even dress the same. What the heck?
Yeah. I hope to get to LA in the future to see both you guys.
Come visit.
Yeah. Well, be warned, mate. He's a professional drill instructor. I just think I'm one.
So, followers, I want to thank my friends for appearing on the channel. Please check out my book, whose link is up here. And we'll see you next time on Being Relentless and Unstoppable.